Hey tribe, Sally here. Hope you're having an amazing and fascinating day. I know I am. All right, I've actually got you up on a tripod because we got something kind of special we're going to do today. But first I want to thank you so much for being here. We are in Quartzsite. Wish you were too. And by the way, if you're in Quartzsite, you see me out and about anywhere, or even if you happen to come by my camp and you see me outside, feel free to stop by and say hello. Please do not go knocking on any of my campmates' doors or mine. If I'm not out, I'm being inside and being private. Please understand and respect that. But I love the opportunity to meet each and every one of you. And speaking of that, I am actually going to do a meetup on January 16th, which will be the official time to get together and meet in person. All right, so without further ado, we're going to run the intro, and then I'm going to show you what we got going on today. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the other side.
Wake up with the sun in our eyes. Sally forth, no need for goodbyes. Journey calls, let's roll the dice. Every mile a new surprise.
All right, let's go take a walk around the back of Henry and see what's going on back here. Can you see something coming into view? I bet you can. So I went and did a thing. I got a thing. And it's on the back of Henry right now. Check it out. So here's what we're going to talk about today in this video. And I'm going to be unboxing it from the rack. We're going to talk about what I chose and why I chose it. You're going to see the whole process of what it's like to get it off of this rack. And we're going to talk about some considerations that might be important to you as well. So we're going to get right into this. Give me just a moment. There's one thing I have to do before we start unwrapping. All right, so the first thing we have to do is get rid of some of the mess. This is a workshop blower. Now I already blew everything off after I got here a week or so ago, but I want to get as much of the dirt off as I can before I start taking it apart, because if you didn't see my most recent video before this, Quartzsite is dusty. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. All right. So we got some of the dust off. That's a start. We're going to break here and segue back to the actual unboxing and give you an idea of what that looks like, and then we'll jump back in. Well, here it is. This is the brand new electric E-Trike. It's a great day to have a great day. And it is America's best-selling e-bike company. And it says it's America's best-selling E-Trike. So I'm already out of breath just from moving it outside. This is called a bloom box. So we're going to get busy making it bloom. I have to say, I'm really impressed with the packaging. So the front wheel was on top here. And I've removed the fenders, which were in that kind of narrow box over there. I put the seat post over here. It is packed slightly differently than their last video that I watched showed, but it's pretty intuitive. So we're going to just keep pulling parts apart until we reach the part that we can get to the actual trike. Look at the beautiful blue color though. I am very pleased with that. It's pretty. Well, at this point, I think I've got all the packaging off that I need to. I have locked the steering stem into position, and I think the next thing is going to be to try and get it unfolded, which I'm not exactly sure how to do. So I'm going to work on that. All right, what surprise do I have under here? I guess we'll find out in a few days. And I guess the next thing we have to do is get the cover off. Now, I didn't actually get the cover that I intended to get because the one that I wanted was going to have like a 2-week wait. So I got this one instead, and it's already showing signs of damage. This is already almost completely ripped out. That's no good. So I'm going to be complaining and returning this one, I'm sure. And I would say that one of the things that I chose to do, and this might be an important consideration for you as well, I chose to get a trike instead of a bike. And I'm going to share the reasons why with you. So first of all, my number one reason was I wanted kind of the maximum amount of cargo carrying capacity that I could get without getting a cargo bike. And a trike gives me that. The other consideration that finally won out for me was that, well, this is interesting. What's going on here? Got my strap stuck. That's what's going on there. The other consideration that won out for me was that I kept thinking about, and this is what I do, guys. You may do this differently, but what I do is I kind of envision my use case and I visualize myself doing whatever the thing is that I'm about to be doing. So a lot of thought went into this process for me, and I'm hoping that by sharing those thoughts, there may be some benefit for you. This strap, I had the strap excess all tied up nicely when I left Borrego Springs, and then I was looking in my rearview mirror and I saw this strap flapping down the road, so I just kind of tied it on. And I haven't gotten around to doing anything about unstrapping yet, so we're taking that opportunity today to get this thing all unstrapped. So one of my stability issues was really not so much about me as it was about Kit. And I kept imagining trying to get Kit loaded on a bicycle that was leaned over on a side stand. Now, one option, and especially, I'm pretty sure that every electric bike has this ability, but I know Electric does, and in fact they offer one for sale. One possibility is to get a dog trailer to trail behind the bike. But I didn't want that extra level of complexity for me. I wanted to be self-contained. Part of the point of doing this is to be able to have mobility in places like Quartzsite or some of the national parks that I've stayed in. You can do a lot of riding instead of having to get your vehicle moving. You know, you can just take the bike out. So that's what I wanted to be able to do. Okay, let's talk about ratchet straps a little bit too. These are the ones that came with the cargo carrier, and of course we're going to be talking about that in some detail. But it's important when you're using ratchet straps that you keep them even so that you can, I gotta go this way, sorry, so that you can unhook them, unstrap them evenly. Don't let the strap get twisted up in there, or you will be unlikely to be able to get it off. Now, one of my concerns with strapping this through the wheel was whether or not I was going to do damage to the wheel. I don't think I have, but I don't know that for sure. I won't know until I get it off of here, so we're going to find out. All right, so I've got basically two straps holding the trike to the carrier, one strap holding the ramps to the carrier, and one strap that was holding the cover to the bike and the carrier. So that's the basic strapping scenario I have. And I'm going to just keep dumping straps up here out of the way for now. So all of the straps are now undone. However, I need to go get the key for the lock because it's also locked to the carrier. So let me grab the key and I'll be right back. And you know, I think I'll just keep talking for a minute. So for me, it was an issue of stability in terms of bike leaned over versus trike sitting upright. And that's both in terms of being able to load kit on it, you know, for a ride, and also in terms of, I gotta figure out how this works, there we go. Also in terms of being able to load it onto a carrier. So what I figured out with the last e-bike I had, which was an Aventon Adventure, it was a great bike, but it was so heavy. It was about 75 pounds. Can't remember if that was with or without the battery, but it was about 75 pounds, and that 75 pounds was very difficult for me to get up onto a carrier that was mounted on the back of the RV, because it would be higher up, right? And so, when I thought about doing this, I decided the trike was going to be easier to load, and in general, I think it is. Definitely more stable in terms of kit. I haven't learned how to ride it yet, so we're going to see how that goes. And as I mentioned, I really wanted to have the ability to have more mobility, especially in places like Quartzsite or national parks and stuff like that. Now, this is the first time I've taken it off of the rack, and it's going to take a while, as you're going to see, because it's all brand new to me. And this chain lock that I have chosen weighs about 10 pounds. So let's show you that. This is an OKC lock. As I said, it weighs about 10 pounds. And basically this end can go through this end, which gives you more range in terms of where you're going to lock it. And I have a kryptonite U-lock. Now these come in longer lengths, but I didn't see any reason to get a longer one since I knew I was going to be using it either with the chain or with the cable that you'll see a little bit later. Let me get rid of the keys. I don't want to take a chance on losing them. So one of my rules, guys, is that I always put things back where I keep them when I'm not actively using them. That way I don't lose stuff. But that's just me, you do you. And you can see how much this cover is billowing already. So we're going to go ahead and take the cover off next and give you your first look at what is now a very dusty trike. Because of course, I drove through the desert, and everything in the desert gets very dusty. Just the way things are. All right, let me get rid of this cover and I'll be right back with you. So the trike itself is free of all its wrappings. And if you're wondering what that big blue thing is that's sitting in the rear cargo basket, that's a backpack for Kit. So the plan is that I'm going to stuff Kit in there to take him for rides, at least for a while. And I think once he gets used to it, he's going to end up in the front basket. But we're not starting out that way. All right, let's talk about the choice of rack for a moment. So what I chose is a hitch-mounted cargo rack, which I did not assemble terribly well because I didn't have good tools available to me to do it. So I'm going to do some work on that as well. It has a 2-inch rise from the receiver on the back of the RV up to the rack itself. It came that way. The rack is 3 feet by 6 feet. And so it's quite large. The width of the trike is 30 inches. And that means I've got a little bit of wiggle room getting it up and down. Now, I searched long and hard looking for different alternatives for racks and ramps and all that kind of stuff. Just moved over into the shade for a minute, so your view is probably not going to be as good, but I'm not too hot, so there's that. I started off, I was looking for a hitch-mounted rack that came with a ramp. And what I figured out pretty quickly is that all of those seem to have ramps that are no more than 4 feet long. And I was pretty sure that 4 feet was not going to be an adequate amount of distance in terms of ease in getting the trike up and down the ramps. So I wanted something longer. I was also concerned, probably unrealistically, but I was concerned that the ramps that are built into racks, when they're not in use, they sit vertically at one end of the rack, one side of the rack. And I just had visions of the pin breaking and that ramp dragging down the road. Call me crazy. It's the kind of stuff I think about. And so what I ultimately decided, and you're going to see this in just a minute, I found ramps that are designed for big dogs with mobility issues. I think the weight rating for each one is 200 pounds. I bought 2 of them. They're 17 inches wide and 6 feet long, and they fold up into 4 sections, so they end up being 17 by 17 by 5 inches. And they fit on the carrier, on the carrier tray, once the trike is loaded. So it's super easy to deal with from that perspective. So we're going to show you what that looks like in just a minute here. All right, let's get these ramps going, shall we? So this is one. 17 by 17 by 5 inches, and here's what you do. All you gotta do is unfold it. So comes this way and this way. Get your fingers out of there before you do it. Oops. And one of the things you got to watch out for is this safety hook right here. So here we go. Now I will agree that this is slightly awkward on the initial setup, but I'm going to show you what's going on here in just a minute. So can you see, this is pretty sturdy, and I have not attached it to the hitch rack yet, but I will. So you just unfold them, and then can you see the carabiner on the end there? That's the end you want to put up top. Ow. And what I'm doing is attaching that carabiner hook to the mesh on the bottom of the rack so that the ramp cannot come off. And as soon as I get this hooked on properly, I'll show you what that looks like. So let's just see what this looks like now. And you can see I don't have them exactly evenly at the top, but, and if I wanted to, I could tie them together to make them into a single unit. I don't think I'm going to need to, although actually I think I might do that anyway. But I want to point this out to you. See this clip here? This clips onto the mesh so that it can't come off, right? And when I come over to this side, yeah, this one could actually go up. Oh, I know what it is. I'm going to put it up over here and make it, or one more that way. All right, be right with you. Okay, guys, so we're going to see how this goes. As you can see, I did put an orange strap across here to hold the two ramps together. And I already showed you the carabiner clips that hold it up in place here. Brakes are released front and rear. I have no idea how this is going to work yet, guys. I'm going to give it a go and we're going to see what happens. So I'm going to pull the wheels up and try and get it onto the ramps and keep it relatively straight, which I think is going to be an issue that I wasn't anticipating. So let's just see how this goes. Not too bad. Not too bad. Okay, now for the front part, because that's such a bad angle for me, I'm actually going to walk up here. I got my step stool out, and I'm going to walk up onto here. Try and maintain my balance. Bring the wheel back around this way. I'm thinking about letting it go, but I don't think I want to. I think that could be a mistake. Oh, actually, no. I think that's good. All right. Now let's go back here and get off of here. And keep in mind, guys, this is the first time. It should get easier each time. And that, my friends, was not bad. I don't think that was bad at all. So, here it is. We are offloaded. And I think it looks pretty good. Okay, so that was filmed a couple of weeks ago when I was first unboxing it, and yesterday when I was getting it off the cargo rack. And what you haven't seen yet is the first ride. And I'm going to be sharing that with you in the next couple of days, probably in the next video or two. But the whole thing is a bit of a process. And what I want to share with you now is some of the thought process that I went through and why I decided to go ahead and do this. Because it's not as simple as just deciding you're going to get an e-trike, right? Or an e-bike, whichever way you decide to go. Because you got to think about, how are you going to carry it? How are you going to make it safe? You know, you've got to secure it as well. How are you going to be able to store it? And for some people, part of those questions are going to be, will your rig, will your RV or your van or whatever be able to bear the weight and so forth? So, I've got some notes, because there's a lot here to unpack, so to speak. Part of the reason I did it was that I wanted independence from parking constraints in places like Quartzsite in the high season, in places like national parks that are very popular. And so it means that I can get, for an example, in Quartzsite, I should be able to get into town without having to drive my rig, without having to move Henry. It's going to also, hopefully, be great for being able to grab some extra water. And it takes the pressure off of the limited parking that can be near vendors in the big tent in Quartzsite. So those are Quartzsite related issues. But there's also national park related issues. A lot of them have really big campgrounds, and oftentimes it's like, be nice if I didn't have to drive to try and find parking at the visitor center. That was too far to walk till. In some places I was able to walk to them and others not. And I'm trying to remember where it was where even parking at the visitor center was really, really tough. And, you know, like, that was Acadia National Park. That would have been a bit more of an issue, because I don't know that I would have ridden into the park from someplace outside of the park. But that said, there were a lot of places like around Yellowstone where we couldn't go at all because we couldn't park RVs in those parking lots. But if I'd had the e-trike, I'd have been able to park close enough that, hey, I can go ride to that parking lot and then do that hike. So I'm hoping that it's going to open up a lot of those opportunities for me. I talked about being able to carry kit, and I'm gonna end up looking for a solution other than the big backpack that I've got in there right now, because I also want to be able to carry cargo. And I'm afraid that's going to get a little bit tippy if I start balancing that on top of cargo. Right now it's wedged in very tightly, so I think it's totally safe. But, so, you know, where are you going to store it, right? Now, for me right now, I have it chained to the rack undercover, and I think that'll be fine. And when I'm going to be going into town to, or, you know, into dump and get water and propane and all of that kind of stuff, I'm going to chain it to my friend's rig here. But worst case, I'd have to reload it and resecure it if I didn't, you know, have a safe way to be able to leave it behind. And that's really, safety is really what this is all about. Can you safely load and unload it by yourself? When I loaded it up the first time, I was visiting at my friend's house in Borrego Springs, and I was so grateful to be able to do that and have their garage area to be able to unpack and store. I actually spent a couple of days because the weather was abysmally hot. It was in the mid-90s, and it was so hot. It took me like 3 days to get the thing all set up and put together just because I couldn't work for very long. And I was really grateful to be able to work on that there. But then when I went to load it up, I had my friend stand by just in case something really bad happened when I was trying to load it. You know, I fell off and broke something. Heaven help me. We know I've broken things before. And when I went to unload it yesterday, I actually had my friend Barb come out and stand by just in case, so that I wasn't laying on the ground and screaming if something bad happened. What else? You know, whatever e-trike or e-bike you're choosing, does it have enough battery capacity for you to be able to get the places you want to go and get back? Because that's pretty important. I don't remember offhand what the range on this is. I'm going to have to look up a couple of specs for you to talk about as well. Does your RV have the carrying capacity? Do you have the budget? Do you have the ability to get a carrier to be able to do that plus the trike? And so those are all things to consider. I mean, I spent so much time shopping. Before I ordered the trike, I finally figured out the rack situation that I was going to go with. And I ended up ordering 2 of those OKC locks. I sent one back. I ordered a 4-foot version and a 5-foot version. Kept the 5-footer. Sent the 4-footer back. Decided I didn't need 2 of them, and I knew that. But I decided the 4-footer was not going to be long enough overall to handle my needs under all circumstances. The 4-foot was long enough to be able to lock it to the carrier when the trike was on the carrier, but not necessarily long enough to be able to lock it to the carrier or something else when it's off the carrier. So that's one of my considerations. I needed a helmet. Needed a phone holder for the handlebars. Needed a water bottle carrier to be able to take a water bottle with me. Needed cargo nets to be able to secure a cargo to both the front and rear racks. So it's a bunch of stuff, right? And I will tell you, I'm not going to tell you which one I got, because then you'll know where it is, and I'm not going to tell you where it is. But I got something that works with the Apple Find My system, so that if it gets stolen, I should be able to track it. Might be able to recover it. And that was a relatively inexpensive piece of this. And I guess while I'm on that subject, I have kind of fallen in love with those things. I've got them for various different things. The first one I got was actually for Kit's tag. And not because I think he's going to get stolen, but I let him off leash a lot. And just in case he somehow manages to get out of my sight, I thought it might be useful to be able to look on my phone and see where he is, and then walk up to him and say, "Hey, dude, what are you doing?" So, but I've gotten several different ones since then, and I've been very happy with all of them. So I'm curious, if you're shopping for a trike, drop your questions in the comments, and I'll cover them probably in a future mailbag. And I will be filming my first ride, hopefully all the way into Quartzsite. We'll see how that goes. One more reminder that I am going to be doing an in-person meetup in January on the 16th. Hope to be able to see you there. We do have memberships available if you're interested in something like that. And let me know what other questions you have. Drop them down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking your time to watch my videos. And we'll see you next time. Sally forth. Bye for now.